Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my Magical Readathon Autumn Equinox TBR for this month. So if you are not familiar with the Magical Readathon, I will link Book Roast's, the hosts, that's a rhyme that I wasn't expecting, their video down below going over like everything. It's a very extensive readathon. It's also very popular, so I'm sure many of you know about it. When I was making this, or when I saw G's video pop up, I was like, did I not do spring? Because I remember looking at the stuff for spring. Then I realized that the spring semester was in April, and that was right after I moved, and like a lot was going on, and I read 2 books that month, and it like wasn't even for that. There's just a lot happening. So that's what happened there. So what I did is I went back, because I've done all the other stuff for like the Aurelium Academy readathons for Magical Readathon. So I looked at May and June's reading, looked at all of the careers that I wanted, and saw if any of the books matched up. And a few of them did, and then I looked at what autumn was to see like what books would possibly be like good TBR wise, because I still have some things that I need to do for other projects. I'm making this so complicated for myself, and for what? It sounds more stressful than it actually is. I wanted to make this work for fun, right? So I concluded that for this character that I have made, who is one of those like, they're like the almost like vampires that are vegetarian, that are from like a library, sort of, like, but mine was like a city slash had also lived in the forest, whatever. For this character that I had created, I thought the illusionist rogue was the best bet for a career. And I went through and I figured out that May, I read books that would all match for like the spring equinox. So it's almost like I did the readathon in May, which is technically allowed. Like, she says that you can do things kind of how you want to, outside of like the official rules. So I'm saying I did that. So here's my tentative TBR. I say tentative because a couple of them I have like sort of multiple options, and I'm actually having my Patreon vote on some of these like for a tiebreaker. So we'll see which ones I actually end up reading for the ones that have multiple selections. I have 3 classes. 2 of them I only have to read 1 book, and 1 I have to read 3 books for. So it feels attainable to me based on the fact the last couple months I've been reading like 10, 12 books. I have to get an O in shapeshifting. I think O is outstanding. I'm not gonna go into all the things. I just wrote down like what the letters were and like what the classes were and the prompts and whatever. So for that, I have to read a book with wings on the cover. So I have 2 options for this. One is Among the Beasts and Briars by Ashley Poston. For readathons, I tend to try to use the prompts to get books that have kind of been sitting on my TBR for a while, or that I'm like unsure about, off my TBR using the readathon prompts. And this has been one that like I haven't really wanted to get rid of. It's a YA standalone. There's like a magical woods kind of element to it, foxes, things like that, stuff that like I could be really into. And there's like winged beasts on the cover. The other option is Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. And this is more of like a gothic fantasy Sapphic, I believe, Gatsby. Then the second class is D in Art of Illusion. So I have to read all 3 prompts for this category. So first I have to read a book I don't know much about. For this, because I made my TBR before I started reading the first book in this series, I'm still doing my Hugo nominee thing, so a few of these books will fit for the Hugo nominees. That ends like the very beginning of the month though, and then I have the rest of the month for these other books. So I'm thinking A Desolation Called Peace / A Memory Called Empire, which I'm reading right now, and I'm filming this like the day before August starts. Those are like that series I didn't know much about, or didn't know anything about before going into it. I was just reading it because it was a Hugo nominee. And it's still a very kind of like confusing, intriguing mystery type series, so I'm saying that this works for that. So likely the second book I will count for this prompt. The second is to read a book under 300 pages. Now I just finished reading a ton of novellas, so I was like, oh no, do I have any options for this? But I do. The City Inside by Sami Basu. This is a near future sci-fi that takes place in India, primarily in Delhi. And this follows 2 characters whose lives end up intersecting and like is revolving around a lot of like media, corporate media stuff, like live streams. Like it's almost like a step in the direction of cyberpunk without it being fully cyberpunk because it's near future. Those kinds of themes, it seems like corporate stuff, conspiracies, whatever, sci-fi. I'm intrigued about this. I've been meaning to read it. I just keep like skimming over it because I have all these other projects to work on, so this is a good excuse to finally get this one picked up. And then the third prompt is to pick a prompt from spring. And there were a number of different spring prompts that I could actually use of books that I want to read, but since I didn't get this book read before the end of July, I'm thinking this is what it's gonna be because this is one of the Hugo nominees and I have to get those read. And that would be a book set in the future, which would be the 4th book in the Wayfarer series. I just realized as I said this though, that you have to read one prompt before the other. So I'm thinking I might not be able to use this one if I'm going officially by the rules and not like tweaking them, because I would need to read this sooner on in the month before I read all those other ones to finish my Hugo noms. So this one might just be not part of the readathon for me. One of the prompts from spring was read a mythology inspired book. This is not quite mythology inspired, but like kind of. There's some Greek mythology like influences in this and like a different twist on it. But This Wicked Fate by Kaylin Bayron. This is the second book, the first book being This Poison Heart that I loved. This sequel recently came out and I really want to get to it. So that's an option. The other option, and another book that I really want to get to that is also a sequel, this would fit for the prompt Intimidating Read, which I don't really get intimidated by books that much anymore, but this is just like, this is the finale to a series that is very hyped, and I have liked the whole series. Like there's just a lot riding on this book. And that is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. We will see, but both of these I really want to get to sooner rather than later. And then lastly, for an O in Psionics, a book that features time travel. Now this is one that's like a little bit more challenging because I don't know, like, a lot of the books that I read, I don't pick them up because I know they're time travel books. Time travel just might kind of be in them and I don't even realize it. And I don't tend to love time travel books. But this is one that I had on my shelf that I'm like, I think it'll fit, but I won't know if it'll fit until I read it. But I'm gonna count it kind of regardless because it has some timey-wimey stuff going on. And that's The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mendel. And again, this has just like time stuff. We're following POVs that are connected or intersect in some kind of way. One is Vancouver Island in 1912, and one is a dark moon colony like 500 years in the future. So yeah, I think this might have time stuff, I don't know. This is what's gonna count because I don't wanna force myself to read a time travel book. And I make the rules about what I read. So that is a plan for my Aurelium Illuminist Rogue career. Comment below, let me know if you're participating and what career you chose. And if there's certain books where I like had multiple choices for the category, let me know if you feel like I should pick one over the other. So thank you all for watching and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.